Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave Podcast here at the Culture 8 Media Network, and we are back to discuss a new movie that stars Tim Robinson, Paul Rudd, and Kate Mara, written and directed by Andrew Deyoung. It is A24's Friendship. I am one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined this time by Michael Peniston.
Hello, everybody.
We've been talking about this movie for a while because we are big, huge, some might say, I think you should leave fans. And we were actually just talking before we started rolling about how interesting it is that Tim Robinson is not involved in this movie in any capacity other than starring in the film. He's not a writer on it. Mm-hmm. He doesn't executive produce it. He doesn't produce it. But it feels so much like an elongated episode of I Think You Should Leave with the way that the humor kind of picks up and stuff like that. So I'm really curious, just overall broad thoughts, Michael, for you coming out of Friendship, what your thoughts were.
Yeah, no, broad thoughts on Friendship. I loved this film. I did. It was every beat as far as the comedic tone of this film was perfect, considering it had like a horror sort of, I guess you could say, tone as well,
like dark elements of comedy.
Exactly, you know. And but overall, no, I loved this film. I thought that the performances were insanely funny. I'm still surprised to know it. Like you said, it wasn't a Tim Robinson production. But at this point, like it still just hit every I Think You Should Leave beat just like perfectly. I like whoever thought to put Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd on the screen together was genius. The two of them are just so funny, and I feel like every scene is written so perfectly in a way where, again, it's like it has like this. It's like it's contrasting between the comedy and then like this, like we said, this dark horror, and it's like it fits both perfectly. It's like the right balance of both. But again, and it's something I wasn't expecting to have a lot of that horror side in the midst of what I at least saw like the previews for this film. And so overall I just thought that from the performances to the editing to it all, I was a big fan.
Well, it puts our characters in crazy real scenarios that also feel like the darkest version of what that scenario could be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It plays almost like the way that Tim Robinson does comedy. It plays to me like a modern version of like Andy Kaufman. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's kind of like performance art in a way. And it's something where it's really hard to explain if you don't know Tim Robinson's way of comedy, how it's presented. Because like, for example, I saw this movie with my brother in the theater over the weekend. We're recording this on Monday, June 2nd. And when I was in the theater, it wasn't a packed experience. I think you said your theater was packed.
It was, yes.
Right? Which is awesome. Mm-hmm. So there were about 15 people in my theater. And I would say majority of them had to have been Tim Robinson fans because they were laughing in the spots where they were supposed to be laughing.
Yeah.
And then there were like two sets of couples that didn't laugh at all. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, these people think this is a straight comedy or this is a straight laced A24 indie kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And it's so not. It's so not. If you don't understand or have any context of Tim Robinson's comedy, now I've heard a lot of great things about Detroiters. I've never watched Detroiters, but I think it was like kind of like a test run for I Think You Should Leave. And he went from Detroiters to SNL to then I Think You Should Leave, I think was the order of how that happened. Mm-hmm. And SNL didn't take to Tim Robinson a lot. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the only character that I remember really hitting was the one he did with Kevin Hart, where they're in the, I think they're in a shoe store and they both have the crazy wigs on. Do you remember this?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. One. And that character is something that would play in like I Think You Should Leave sketch.
Yeah.
But with Tim Robinson's character in this film, I'm going to say his name because Craig Waterman. He answers the phone saying Craig Waterman. He just does such a great job of actually taking a character and elongating it in a way where there's you start to learn more about how wacky he is as a dad, as a partner, and it opens on a great scene where you see that his wife, who's recovered, she had cancer, and she talks. She talks about how it's been hard on her, and she goes, I haven't orgasmed in over a year. And so they cut to Tim, and he goes, I'm orgasming fine. And it just opens you up as a viewer. There's going to be a lot of laughing in this review because the movie's so funny. But there's so many things like that where he plays like that, like as a person. Like it's like he's a human embodiment of like an old school French horn trying to play like slapstick. And it's full tilt in this movie. Like you really see it kind of break down, especially with this relationship that he has with his new neighbor. Yeah. Which is what I want you to talk about because, or just want to hear your thoughts on it. The chemistry between Tim, who he's worked with a bunch of people on I Think You Should Leave, different scene partners. I love like Stephen Yeun is somebody that like he's done great stuff with, Paul Walter Hauser. Yeah. But Paul Rudd by himself is a comedy legend. Mm-hmm. He's a great actor. He can do a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. And he plays this character that on first glance, you're like, this is the coolest human being I've ever met in my life. And it feels like a deranged version, like an A24 deranged, darker version of I Love You, Man. That's how I kind of came out of it.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
With Paul Rudd playing the Jason Segel part and Tim Robinson being the one seeking friendship. Yeah. Literally the name of the movie. So your thoughts on some of the interactions we get in the beginning of the movie too, where we see the relationship develop between Craig and Austin, who is the name of Paul Rudd's character. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Before that, just coming off of your, like the trajectory of Tim Robinson and everything you kind of brought up with him, I feel like his whole career has been very interesting. I watched a little bit of Detroiters, and his comedy is just like unmatched. Like you said, I don't even know if you can compare it to any previous. Like I could see Andy Kaufman being like a close.
It's like offbeat.
Yeah. But again, it just stands in its own boat. And so, I was a big fan of the intro scene as well. Just kind of coming off of that, just as brought that up, and this kind of becomes an ongoing joke, as we'll probably bring up about this wife not being able to orgasm, and I'm just kind of sitting there like what in front of all these people. So funny. But it moves on. You kind of realize that he is like this loser. In his own home and even at work and all these different places.
A loser in life.
Yeah. Exactly, yes. He ends up getting his neighbor's Austin's mail, and his wife tells him to go drop it off. Immediately, yes, he goes to his door, and like you said, you're introduced to this character, Austin, in a way where he does seem like he's like the coolest guy like ever. Like just his vibe to him. It's really funny too, because I feel like casting Paul Rudd in that character was also very similar to his character in Anchorman to a degree, and Anchorman obviously has like that, obviously like the comedic tone to it as well. Yeah. But just like, and ironically enough, he's the weather guy in this movie.
My brother brought that up to me too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I was like, oh, this is very Anchorman-ish. Like I'm getting that character from him. But again, immediately it starts off in a way where it's just a small interaction. Like they kind of just introduce each other, introduce themselves to each other, and he kind of just goes on with his business, at least Tim Robinson's character, and he like runs off like a goof, and it's just like that's what you think it kind of ends at that point. But no, it kind of progresses this friendship. He ends the Paul Rudd's character. Austin invites him over to hang out. I think they I forget exactly the series of events in which they hang out, but I know that they do go to the woods at one point and they find what's it called, like a mushroom, and like they're doing all this stuff.
That's so the first thing they do is they go to the tunnel.
That's right, the tunnel,
because they hang out just the two of them.
Yes, that's right.
So they go from there to the mushrooms to then the group hang.
To the group hang.
That's the series of events.
Yeah,
we sort of see, and I do love, dude, that so much. Like you talked about how that opening scene plays into. And what Tim Robinson does so well is playing into the joke. And it's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it comedically, but it's like the Key and Peele effect, where Key and Peele, and I love Key and Peele, but what Key and Peele did was they had a bit and they would extend the bit and they would extend the bit and they would extend the bit and make it more outlandish and more crazy until it got to a point where it was so insane that you were like, all right, it's time to end the bit. And they always would. And they would know where they were at. What Tim Robinson does is he elongates things so much, playing off of something that came before it, that it makes you feel uncomfortable, making the moment feel even heavier in terms of comedy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like the whole fact that the first interaction they have, Austin points to him and goes, "Hey, stay curious, Craig Waterman."
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And the whole movie, Craig's motivation is to be curious about Austin,
Yeah.
which you don't pick up on until you get to the end of the movie. And you find we'll get to the end. Obviously, we start talking more spoiler stuff. But he's so enamored with Austin as a person that he'll do anything to keep his trust alive. And he feels so enamored by this friendship that he'll do anything, literally anything, to be close and curious about Austin, which I think is so great. But yeah, you discussed how the series of events kind of happen, and you see their relationship develop. There's like you said, the first interaction with them, they're kind of just hanging out. They go to the tunnel, which plays a very big part in the end of the movie, the last third of the movie. The mushrooms is a
he invites them to his show as well, his band.
Oh yes, he does invite them. You play in a band,
right?
It's the coolest fucking thing ever, man.
And it feeds into, again, like this whole like, oh, he's really cool, but like as you start to find out, Austin's also just really normal at the same time. They're just like how he views they do a good job projecting how Tim's character views this guy onto us.
It's like society's view of like what would make a cool guy. He wants to drive a Porsche. He plays in a band. He takes magic mushrooms. He likes to collect things. He wants to do ayahuasca. He owns a golden plated gun. Like, it's all these things that you would encapsulate in the most ridiculous ideology behind. If I was starting from scratch, how would I rate the coolest person ever?
Yeah.
He's got cool facial hair. He's got long hair that just lays perfectly, but it doesn't seem like he does anything to it. He's a nightly news weatherman, so he doesn't have to wake up early in the mornings. It's an outlandish character.
And it's cool too, because through these scenes you do start to see how in the beginning of this friendship, Craig is to some degree like having a good effect on Austin. Like, I think bringing up the whole nightly news thing, like there's this moment where like they're together and like Austin, Craig kind of brings up like, hey, if you don't want to be in the nightly news, if you want to do the morning, just say something,
Yeah, just ask.
Right? And then like it like kind of moves then Austin to do that, and he gets it. And so like you can see, which is cool in the beginning, like on top of like these weird ass moments with between Craig and Austin. And I liked how you brought up too about Tim Robinson with these moments where it's like he'll elongate these like bits and everything, but not just that. He'll purposely throw somebody who's just acting completely normal next to him who's just like, what the hell? Like stuff like that just progresses. And we got a lot of that in this. But again, it's cool to see that with this friendship, not only is it where it's like Craig is having like this like effect of like, wow, this guy is cool and like he wants to be around me and everything, but he's also in some way having, like I said, a good effect. Yes. But then it progresses.
Yeah. So the thing that's so with Craig and the shtick of Craig Waterman as a character and a lot of Tim Robinson's characters is that he is not a lovable loser.
Yeah.
He's kind of a piece of shit. At the end of the day, he doesn't really care about anybody else other than himself.
Yeah.
And he will do anything to sort of make himself feel a little bit better about who he is and what he's doing and the other people he surrounds himself with. He obviously has very poor social skills. He's not sort of desired by anybody. He's okay to be around because some of the things he does are goofy. And like Austin says too, like he's like, you're a funny guy, or he says something to him that kind of like sprites him up a little bit. And he's like, wow, it's so nice to hear that somebody cares about me or whatever. Because his son wants nothing to do with him. His wife wants nothing to do with him. All the people at work don't care about him. So it's getting that moment and seeing how his social anxiety kind of dissipates when he's around this guy, so much so that he'll do anything to be near him at any point in time.
Yeah.
And like you said, he allows himself to be a helpful hand in any way possible, so much so that he's doing things that are like dangerous. Like, for example, when he goes and sees the gun, he's kind of at this point where he's not talking to Austin as a character anymore. Austin emotionally breaks up with him to his face. He basically is like, this friendship isn't working for me anymore. I really appreciate the times we spent together. We had a few good hangs, but I think it's time we go our separate ways. After he convinces Tim's character to get a drum set, because he's like, oh, dude, like, do you play anything? Like, we should jam. So he spends thousands of dollars on this like elaborate 80s drum set with green trim and crazy. And he gets this moment later on calling back to the opening of the movie where he has to go deliver another package that accidentally gets dropped off at their house. And nobody's home, but he wants to be around the aura of Austin so much so that he breaks into the house and then winds up, while he's on the biggest case of his career, he steals a gun out of his drawer and he runs away with it. And that, like, every single thing in this movie that's written has a purpose.
Yeah.
Which is another thing. We talked about the comedy, obviously, but the structure of the way the movie is written is really great because it always comes back to everything has a purpose.
Yeah.
Every single thing that's being delivered by Andrew Deyoung has a purpose.
Even there's another small, and it starts off as a small bit, and you realize it becomes like a reoccurring joke throughout it. But again, it's like another purpose of a joke. In the beginning, that first initial group setting when you like that's we can talk a little bit about that moment just because like that was like the
downfall.
That's exactly where he saw most of his character come out, and it all started with him kind of hyping himself up outside of like his on his like porch basically, and all you see all these guys inside, and then he goes back to turn around, he just immediately walks through the glass door and everyone inside just like kind of stares at him like what the hell is that? And it's funny because it is a small little funny joke like that happens, but then like throughout the rest of the movie, like even him going to the house, he's then able to like enter the home because he broke the glass door, and it's just like a loose there. It even comes up in the end at another point. And so it's just like, again, like you said, it's a good point. Like such little jokes can make or break a lot, moving forward with the story itself. And
in terms of the movie being like a buddy comedy, it's not that either. And it's kind of pitched like that a little bit in the trailer. But what I think that this movie does, you talked about a little bit, is they subvert expectations. But that is kind of what Tim Robinson does best, which is why it's so interesting that he's not involved in this movie in the creative process. Now, that's not to say that I'm sure during the process of making this movie, him and Andrew probably spoke a lot, because I don't think there's another comedian that would make this work, this type of comedy work, as well as Tim does, because there is no other comedian, like you said, doing it. It's all these absurd situations that everyday people wouldn't react to. Like, for example, when they're walking in the woods to find the mushrooms and they're talking about how cool Ozzy's like, oh, you're such a cool guy and I love hanging out with you. And he's in the middle of talking. You see Tim's character just kind of starts sinking. And he's just in like a thing of mud, but it's like kind of quicksandy-ish like too, but he's not getting stuck in there forever. And you just see his character kind of sinking. And then it's not until Austin's like, dude, you're sinking. And he goes, oh, what the fuck? What's happening? Fuck. And it's such a crazy reaction that if you don't understand that the character is supposed to be that crazy and that ridiculous all of the time, then you're not going to connect to the characters. So that's the big thing for me. Like, here's a question for you. As someone, we're both huge fans of I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah.
How do you get this movie across to other audiences?
Oh, sorry, finish.
No, because the reality is if you don't have a connection to him as a performer, it's really hard to get invested into this character that in the very beginning is like making fun of his cancer surviving wife having an orgasm and being, again, an affable idiot that nobody cares about. Like, there's not much to his character where you're like, oh, that's someone like I want to root for. It's really just for the comedic effect.
Yeah. So that is a very, very good question. It's so funny too, because I have a coworker who's also a very big I Think You Should Leave fan, and me and him are always just kind of like riffing, just like little like inside jokes from the sketches that we've seen in the episodes. And there are a lot of moments where my other coworkers are like, oh, what are you guys talking about? Like, and we'll try and explain the sketches of I Think You Should Leave to them, and they have no idea what we're talking about. It's like trying to explain I Think You Should Leave is genuinely like
impossible.
It's so impossible, and you realize how much of it is Tim Robinson and little things like SNL maybe not fully understanding what to do. Like there's so much of this is him, and like you said, the performance art of it, that There really is no way to describe that other than to show somebody that. But even showing them one sketch sometimes won't even be enough. Like sometimes you have to show them like 3 for them to be like, oh, this is like what he does. Like this is just his thing. And so I don't think there is a real answer to that question as far as how to describe this. I've compared it, like you compared it to Key and Peele in the past, just because like sketch based stuff, I think that's the closest you could think of.
Yeah.
And like off the rail is getting wackier and wackier, but there's nothing like it. And so it's like, and it's funny too, because I remember like a year ago, Tim Robinson blew up on TikTok. And it wasn't because it was sketches or like video snippets of like the episodes or anything. People would legitimately just take a still of like those sketches and have him making a funny face. And that like just like those memes of him and just his face just blew up. And it was like for like months, it was like everybody was just posting him. And it was just like that was the meme, was him. And it just goes to show how much of him being a meme is like, it's crazy. I'm getting so into it because it blows my mind. So then getting into this film, trying to compare this to somebody, it's like the same. It's like, it's weird because I'll just compare it to I Think You Should Leave. But then people are like, what is that? And so it's like, it's really hard. And then like, again, there were so many creative choices that were made in this film that I wasn't expecting. So to be like, oh, this is I Think You Should Leave mixed with like your thriller or like an almost noir type of feel to it, you know, and it's like that just even more would throw somebody off. I think it's just one of those things where it's like, if you haven't seen it, you just gotta like it or not.
There's an emotional core to it at the end of the day too, where you're dealing with something that is not talked about, and this is why I want to give a massive shout out to Andrew Deyoung, the writer and director of this. This is his first movie that he's ever directed, and he gets an A24 project to A24 to partner with him on it. You had brought up that Paul Rudd is an executive producer, so maybe they have some sort of connection. He's worked in a lot of television, none that I could remember that Paul Rudd was a part of. But what he does is the male ego in general is highlighted a lot in the way that the interactions happen, and how like male relationships and bonding is a hard thing for a lot of men to do. You know, it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. It's like, I feel like anyone, if you're a man watching this, or maybe even if you're a woman, you've noticed this about your boyfriend or your brother or your father, whoever it would be, that sometimes you don't know what to say to certain people, and you just kind of default to, you see the Knicks game the other day, and it becomes like a meme of itself. You know, and what they're able to do with Craig Waterman as a character is stretch the bounds of the awkwardness of that tenfold. Like, you can't make situations more awkward than him accidentally beating the shit out of his friend and almost knocking him out, and then feeling so incredibly embarrassed by that moment with a new group of friends that he had such a great time with, that he shoves a bar of soap in his mouth and says, "I've been a bad boy." And it plays like a crazy fever dream where you're like, there's no way. And it plays perfectly in the movie because all these men are staring at him with blank expressions of like, what the fuck is happening? And he's just like, get the fuck out. It's like, it's so great how they're able to center it to that every time he manages to fuck up even worse.
Yeah.
And I love how it comes full circle by the end of the movie, where he basically redeems himself and still goes off the deep end.
Yeah.
Like, that's Tim Robinson at its finest, you know? And I talk about a joke that plays for the entirety of the movie. It's a point of emphasis that his character, is the one that got a speed bump put on the block because there's too many people speeding. And it plays into the final punchline.
Oh, you didn't even think
of the movie.
Wow, you're right.
Because what he's trying to do is he's trying to basically do the one thing that he knows would really, really fuck up Austin. Like, he'd be really upset about the fact that he finally got this dream car, and he does something nice for his wife, or ex-wife at this point, and he's just so enamored with anger towards this guy that he does something that he doesn't do, where he's gonna recklessly drive through his neighborhood and crash into his car, but he gets stunted by his own thing, his own creation, by getting the speed bump in the neighborhood. So I think that those callbacks are what make Tim Robinson's comedy work so well, because it feels almost like a comfortability for the audience. It's like, this is something that I could always rely on. He's always going to go back to this stupid nugget that he planted in my head. And what Andrew Deyoung's able to do with the writing of that is also crafted in a way where it's like the opposite of the hero's journey, you know, which is so great. It's so great the way it's formulated.
It is. And he, Tim Robinson, I feel like, even in his I think you should leave sketches, he kind of has like an underlying tone of like desperation a lot of the time. And this film plays obviously on that, and like the effects that, you know, wanting to be liked and having these friendships can have, and that desperation attached to it, which I think having like a thriller underlying tone as well fits that, because there's a lot of thriller aspects in the idea of desperation. But again, it's so cool and it's funny to see the stages that are like, at least how far his character and someone like Tim Robinson, just in general with his comedy, would take this. And I'm bringing that up specifically to bring up a scene that we have not talked about yet that I think we should talk about.
Okay.
At one point, there's like a little bit where, again, playing into like little jokes, set up the stage for other things. There's like a scene where he's in like a phone store, and like there's like a little kid, and there's like an 18-year-old kid, and he's like trying to buy this phone, and like him and like the kid, they kind of have like this moment of connection where they're like, the kid's like, oh, if you get like this phone in this case, like we'll be matching. And then like immediately he's like, do you want to go hang out? Like to like this like 18-year-old kid.
Want to go to the bar across the street?
Right, yeah. The kid's like, oh no, like what's it called? Like I'm 18, and he's like, oh, and then like the kid references, he's like, oh, but if you want anything stronger than the drinks, let me know. And then later on in the film, at this like very, very low point of desperation, he goes back to this 18-year-old kid looking for something stronger. The kid takes him to the back room and is showing him like all the like weed. He has what do you have? Like
he goes, I have weed, I have cocaine, I have ecstasy, I have all these things. And he goes, what about something like ayahuasca? Yeah. And instead he says, no, I don't have that, but I do have a toad.
So he pulls out a live toad out of his bag. And he's like, oh man, for $100 you just gotta lick the glands on the back, and like you'll have like a crazy ass ride. And so he pays him, he licks the toad, and he lays down.
It's such a great payoff.
So good. So he licks this toad. The kid it's like, I gotta go get my lunch, I'm on my lunch break, so just enjoy it. He leaves, he shuts the lights off, and immediately he's like kind of like going into this trance. And he ends up outside of a fucking Subway. And he goes inside. He goes to order, and Paul Rudd's character is behind the counter. And he's just like basically asking him, like, how do you want your sandwich? And Tim Robinson's just like, oh, like I'll have this, like I'll have this. And it's like probably like a 15-second interaction of him ordering a fucking.
And the biggest thing that happens is, which my brother and I can't stop saying it now since seeing the movie. But he goes non-toasted, right? As if he's been there a bunch of times. And he goes, let's be wild. Fucking toast it. And then he wakes up from the trip.
And the kid wakes him up from the trip. And he's just like, how was it? Like, man, like, did it feel like hours? Tim Robbins just like, what? It felt like 2 minutes. It's like,
I ordered a fucking sandwich at the Subway.
And he basically just got ripped off by this kid.
It's so crazy. And even the best part about that is that they fill those other moments of comedy with even more awkward comedy. Like the first interaction he has with the kid right before he offers him the stronger thing, there's this really uncomfortable thing that Tim Robinson's character says, where he goes, all the 18-year-old girls are looking a lot older nowadays. I guess the same thing's happening with the guys. And you're just sitting there like, there's no way that there's a human being on Earth that just said that. But the scary thing is that there probably is. It probably is.
Yeah, that's another thing
so
too.
good.
Like the jokes in this, like they were very modern. They were like like having just like an ongoing joke of like, I heard there's a new Marvel. I heard it's gonna be epic. Like that. I mean, that was in the trailer.
No Marvel spoilers. No Marvel spoilers.
Like the fact that that's like they keep bringing up wanting to see Marvel movies, and this is like why? But like,
and they're referring to it as a new Marvel instead of like the new Marvel movie. It's just crazy. It's so ridiculous. It's so over the top. We can't talk about every bit because we'd be here for 3 hours.
Yeah.
The movie is great though. It's really funny. Kate Mara also does a great job of playing the straight character.
Yeah.
A great cameo by, and I'm forgetting his name, but he's been in a bunch of stuff. He was Josh Segarra. He's great in Abbott. He's great in She-Hulk. He plays her ex-boyfriend, and he gets one moment. He gets one moment in this movie, and it's spectacular.
It is.
It's so great for him as her ex that she's so emotionally invested in with still, that he's there at her when she and we're not gonna again talk about all the details of the movie, but there's a moment where her character disappears, and when finally she's found, he speaks to the beauty of who she is as a person and why it's important that she's back, and Tim's character delivers like a nothing speech comparatively, and he's just again such a idiotic character that you can't help but laugh at, and you're not going to root for his character in any way, shape, or form because of the shitty things he's doing. And even when you think things are going to be okay, they're not. My favorite gag, I don't want to say what it is because I want people to go and see this movie, is the final payoff gag when he's in the house with Austin, because he does everything in his power to still have that trust.
Yeah.
When Austin calls him on the phone, he goes, "That's our little secret." He goes, "I trust you." And he goes, "I trust you too." And he makes sure that that big, deep, dark secret that Austin has still is never found out by anybody. And that final wink that he gets is just, it's poetic. It's like chef's kiss.
It is.
I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to kind of touch on with the movie. Like I said, we could talk about the bits forever. But I just think that it's a movie that people should go and see. It's one of the funniest movies I've seen in a movie theater in probably 10 years. Like, there's not a lot of good comedies anymore.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of I Think You Should Leave, you have to see this movie. Even if you've seen, like, only a couple sketches and you haven't dove into the show, but you love the craziness and the outlandish nature of what Tim Robinson's able to do comedically, you would enjoy this movie
100%.
for what it is.
100%.
So,
yeah. I feel like there isn't much more that I have to say. I'm just I agree, Kate Mara was a great part of this film, and the son, I forget his name.
Jack Dylan Grazer from Shazam. Yeah.
I honestly always like him and everything. He's just like a cool kid to me, but he plays like the cool kid in this film, and he's just another kind of like, I wanted to give him some credit as well. Yeah, I feel like that's really it. The wink at the end was a cherry on top. Like, it really was. And again, I'm not going to talk about that end scene. Go see it so you can get what we're talking about. But the wink was very rewarding in the end. I'll just say that.
It was earned. It definitely was earned.
Yes.
All right, quick scores. We talked about the movie at length, so I'll just I'm going to give this movie a 9. It's, like I said, one of the funniest movies I've seen in such a long time. I can't wait to return to it the same way I returned to I Think You Should Leave sketches. And I can't wait till this movie's on Max, because it's going to stream on Max because it's A24. And it's just so laugh out loud funny. You have to go see it in a theater. So please go and support the movie in the theaters. Michael.
Yes, I agree with everything you said. I can't wait for it to go on Max. I feel like it will quickly become a comfort relief movie for me. Nothing else to say. No notes. I loved it. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 as well.
Awesome. Well, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Did you love Friendship as much as we did? Give this video a like. Comment your thoughts below. Also, if you're fans of I Think You Should Leave, let us know some of your favorite sketches. We'd love to have a conversation with you guys about Tim Robinson, his comedy, this movie in general. We have a lot of other things on the channel that we cover as well. We have been covering a lot of film and television in the recent weeks and months. We finished our coverage for The Last of Us recently. We finished our coverage for Andor. We have movie reviews up for I'm Still Here. I'm trying to think of what else we have. There's so many things on the channel. We're also covering Tribeca Film Festival soon. So you guys have a lot to check out. So appreciate if you guys are joining us for the first time and you want to see the rest of our stuff. Hit that subscribe button. We put out stuff pretty much every day. We also have social media. All that stuff is below me in the video. It's also in our YouTube description. So check out all of our stuff. Just signing off. I am Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Michael Peniston.
And we'll see you guys next time. Stay curious.
This is The Culture.